Hey everyone, and welcome to Leaguecraft 101, episode 23. So this week at work, one of my coworkers gave a presentation about building durable frameworks. The presentation made me realize that I've never really made a holistic framework for being good, or an understandable end state to aim for. So here's my take on one. So I made a framework that has three major sections. In this video, I'm just going to go through the pressure category, which in my opinion is without fail the quality that every good player has. So the first portion of pressure is towing the line between inting and doing high damage. The best players are always finding ways to borderline int to output more damage. My favorite example of this is Uzi's Ezreal, which is the most aggressive I've ever seen. So in this clip is a classic example of Uzi's favorite pastime, borderline inting. Uzi E's forwards into a Tahm Kench and Varus with all their cooldowns up, no flash, and a QSS as his only way out. They managed to turn it around and win the teamfight, and shortly after the game. The only question you need to ask yourself when doing damage like this is, if I go forwards, can they kill me, including flanks? If the answer is no, go in. There's no doubt in my mind that Uzi knew that he wouldn't die here, even if Varus ulti hit. So the second category here is having good farm. A common misconception about having good farm is that it's about focusing more on last hitting. It's actually not about this at all. It's about having lane pressure. So if you use spells to last hit instead of auto attacks, you're losing lane pressure. If you're not finding opportunities to force trades on an opponent when you would have an advantage, or are taking bad trades, you're also losing lane pressure. Up until gold, you can get away with farming without having your opponent punish you, but at higher elos, if you don't trade and get lane pressure and force the enemy back, you're not going to be able to get that farm safely. This is why I advocate learning trading stance early and getting used to using it early in the learning process. So the third category is forward percent. This is somewhat similar to the Uzi example, but the Uzi example is more about doing damage in teamfights and skirmishes, whereas this category is more about how you're positioning in lane, especially after the first base. In my opinion, this portion of the game is the most important for solo queue. How you soak pressure to your lane and put pressure on the enemy team in this phase from minutes roughly 6 to 15 often decides the game. Forward percent is all about drawing the enemy jungler to your lane by either threatening to kill the opponent under tower, swinging fights in the enemy jungle, or just wasting the opponent's team's time and resources. So in this clip, Dopa has his wave pushing in on Kassadin, and he's been continuously using the trading stance on Ori every time she goes for last hits. This brings the jungler to his lane, and then he just avoids the gank and wastes their time, which lets all his other lanes play aggressive. It cannot be stated how important playing forward is, especially in laning phase, as it can have huge butterfly effects on the rest of the map that you don't even realize. You drawing the jungler mid may have enabled bot to play aggressive and get a kill, or go in for a lane-winning trade. Simple actions like this, and not flashy plays, are what creates Dopa's insane win rates and solo queue dominance. So the fourth category here is punish. And punish speaks more to micro decision making, in punishing a dash or defensive cooldown wastage. The most common play here involves summoning the jungler to your lane when the opponent has burnt flash and flash killing them. So the best way to think about punishes is that every player in the game has a set of moves that they can do. Most moves are either a CC or a dash. The easiest way to think about punishes is that if you're one move up and they're in kill range, you can force a kill. So here's a simple example. In this clip, Taliyah has two moves, W knockback and flash. Corki also has two moves, W and flash. If Corki flashes her W, he can cancel her move. Therefore, if Corki sees Taliyah on a lethal amount of HP, Wing in is 2 moves to 1, provided he flashes her W, then he wins. It's that simple. And I specifically choose challenges in these examples because if challenges make such elementary errors, think how many errors regular players make. You just have to be in the mindset to capitalize and be ready for them. Playing on autopilot and not being ready to pounce on kill opportunities is a big failing of most players. so if you are the one who is doing it, you'll be able to get far ahead of the pack. So here's another example. In this clip, Zed has 3 moves, W, R, and Flash, while Kassadin only has 2, R and Flash. If Kassadin walks in range, 3 moves beats 2, so you win. As soon as he walks in range, Faker says, "I've got him." If, however, Zed had to use a move to get in range, it's 2 moves to 2, and then Kassadin escapes. The 5th pressure category is one that is really important, especially for players in High Diamond Plus to look out for. The reason why I say High Diamond Plus is because these are the elos where every summoner and every spell counts. In Low Diamond and below, it really doesn't matter that much because things are so poorly optimized already. If you're able to turn a gank with your summoners and get a kill, or hold in a dangerous situation without blowing both summoners, you'll be able to draw so much pressure from the enemy team. This is my favorite example of this concept. In this clip, Faker eats a Flash EW from Ryze into a Rek'Sai Flash knockup. Knowing that neither Rek'Sai or Ryze have Flash, he has the discipline to hold his Flash, knowing that Ryze only has auto attacks left, and he outplays C9 by flashing Rek'Sai ult. Even other challengers will blow both their summoners immediately after getting double comboed, but not Faker, as he's famous for juking and holding the summoners for the outplay. Now let's think about what happens if Rek'Sai didn't go in and Faker got to hold Flash. He now has 5 minutes to abuse a summonerless Ryze while holding his Flash as a get out of jail free card for if Rek'Sai takes the time to get around his wards. This forces Rek'Sai to hang around and defend mid from a dive, or go elsewhere and sacrifice mid, which is a huge pressure advantage as SKT then gets free reign everywhere else on the map. So the 6th pressure category is pretty obvious, but it speaks to the requirement to do all of the above without dying unnecessarily. As soon as you die unnecessarily, you'll lose an insane amount of pressure, especially if you lose farm, because that's the equivalent to doing future damage. The nuance here is that sometimes going forwards and doing large amounts of damage and dying is often better than staying back and being safe, especially in a slightly behind game. This is important because there are some games where you may die, but cause a teamfight win and swing an otherwise lost game. So that's my guide for pressure. Thanks for sticking around. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the final 2 sections and how to use this framework to identify how to improve your own play. So until next time, peace.